Tonight, back in business. On day 96 of the oil spill, the relief well drilling rig returns after Tropical Storm Bonnie fizzles out. I'm Jeff Glor. Also tonight, breaking records. Will the non-stop heat make it the hottest July on record? Deadly stampede. At least 15 people are killed in Germany after panic at a music festival. And Chelsea's choice. With just a week to go, clues point to one spot as the place for Chelsea Clinton's wedding.
I think it's going to look like a circus.
This is the CBS Evening News with Jeff Glor.
And good evening. It's all about the weather tonight. Up and down the East Coast, another heat wave moves in, while in the Gulf, Tropical Storm Bonnie moves out, letting cleanup crews get back to work. We'll have more on the heat in a moment, but first, on day 96 now of the spill, here is the latest. The drilling rig for the crucial relief well is back in place. BP could attempt a so-called static kill of the blown-out well within days, and protective booms are being removed from some beaches that haven't seen oil in weeks now. Kelly Colbiella is in Grand Isle, Louisiana tonight. Kelly?
Good evening, Jeff. This weather delay has cost BP about 5 days, but engineers are now preparing to pick up where they left off.
One by one, the unmanned submarines were lowered back down to the ocean floor to monitor the containment cap. The storm never got bad enough to force all of the ships to leave. 2 stayed in place, checking pressure readings throughout the night. The well is still in good shape, and for now at least, they can get back to work.
We're going to be playing a cat and mouse game for the remainder of the hurricane season. We'll have to react to the best forecast.
The forecast looks good enough now that BP could try its luck with a static kill within days. One of the ships used to burn oil would instead pump heavy mud down through a series of pipes and into the well, followed by concrete to form a plug inside the well pipe. If it works, BP would still go ahead with the relief well, drilling into the casing at an angle, then pumping mud and concrete to fill the space between the casing and the actual well pipe. The well would be permanently sealed. The process could begin Tuesday, the day BP meets with investors and releases its latest earnings report.
Even before this storm threatened, Grand Isle was already starting to take down some of its defenses, like this boom, which used to stretch the entire 7 miles of this beach. They haven't seen large amounts of oil wash ashore here in more than 3 weeks.
Still, oil is just 5 miles from Louisiana's coast, with larger slicks farther out. Across the Gulf region, cleanup crews are now out of place, and trust in BP is so low in some places, local politicians saw the storm evacuation as a ploy to leave for good.
I've called law enforcement, I called the sheriff, and I said I'm ready to mobilize our flotilla and we'll go out there and stop them.
BP says the company will stay put until the Gulf is restored. Battles that faded into the background on the beaches of Grand Isle today, where there was no oil, no boom, just dancing feet.
That concert was intended to raise money for a marketing campaign to bring tourism back to this area, but there's still a lot of work to be done, of course, and cleanup crews throughout the region will start moving back into place as early as tomorrow. Jeff?
Kelly Colbiella once again in Grand Isle, Louisiana tonight. Kelly, thank you. Well, another weekend, another blast of oppressive heat, breaking records up and down the East Coast. Among them today, Richmond, Virginia at 105, Baltimore 100, Newark 99, and New York's JFK Airport at 97. Tony Guida is in New York's Central Park tonight. Hey, Tony.
Good evening, Jeff. It's hot out here. New York has had 20 days this year so far of temperatures of at least 90 degrees. The number of days like that at this same point last year, 2.
It's supposed to be hot in July, but this is ridiculous. 11 straight days with temperatures topping 90 in Washington. Today, a record 101. Stir in the humidity, it felt at least 10 degrees hotter.
Just to stay cool, I actually slept in my car with the car running for about 4 hours now.
Extreme heat scorched a path from Kansas City through southern Illinois and Tennessee to the Carolinas, where Raleigh registered its 49th day of readings above 90. Today actually felt like 115. In downtown Raleigh, emergency workers assisted concert goers overcome by the heat.
I've dumped water on my back and I'm very much cooler.
This is about as extreme as you get. Some all-time record highs could be broken and the humidity's up very, very high.
It hit 97 in New York, tying a record, and plenty uncomfortable for this road crew.
Oh, we have to work. The job has to get done.
Diego Martinez said much the same about his running. No matter the weather, he clocks a lap of nearly 4 miles every other day.
Depending how I feel when I get to the end, I'll probably go another second lap, which is another 3.5 miles.
You'll do a second lap?
Yeah.
You're nuts. You know that, Diego?
Some onlookers felt the same way about these triathletes crossing the finish line in Mercer County, New Jersey. The waves at Coney Island offered relief to Brooklyn beachgoers, and in Philadelphia, those who couldn't get to the beach found cooling nonetheless. An impromptu shower was this 9-year-old midfielder's prescription for relief. Chasing a soccer ball was tough duty on this day.
You sweat a lot and it's hard to run around because it's like once you start running, you want to walk again.
I know just how she feels. Temperatures this extreme, of course, can be very dangerous and may have caused the death of one man in Prince George's County, Maryland today. Paramedics found the young man unconscious on a bike path. Cause of death officially not established, but they believe it was heat-related. Jeff?
All right, Tony got it in Central Park tonight. Tony, thank you. The Chicago area is dealing with extreme heat and severe flooding. More than 7 inches of rain fell in some parts yesterday and overnight, leaving residential neighborhoods underwater and trapping cars on flooded roads. Heavy rain in eastern Iowa has caused a dam to burst today. A swollen lake has cut a hole 30 feet wide in that dam above the town of Hopkinton. Hundreds of homes have been evacuated. Overseas tonight, 2 U.S. service members are missing in Afghanistan and may have been captured by the Taliban. Our Terry McCarthy is embedded with U.S. troops in Helmand province. He joins us tonight. Terry, this story, highly unusual. What do we know right now?
Jeff, this is a very bizarre story. Apparently, the 2 U.S. service members were Seabees. They were returning from a training mission in Camp Julian, which is about 5 miles south of Kabul, and they appear to have been kidnapped by the Taliban somewhere on their trip back. The Taliban themselves have told CBS News that they kidnapped these 2 men with 10 Taliban on the road, and they've removed them to a secure location. The bizarre thing about this story, however, is that these 2 men appear to have been traveling on their own. This is not normal practice for U.S. forces in Afghanistan. Normally, they would be in a convoy of at least 2, if not more, vehicles, Jeff.
Terry, second question for you tonight. The U.S. also reporting the death of 5 American troops in the south in Afghanistan, raising this month's death toll to 56. Newsweek magazine with a provocative cover article this week saying we're not winning the war in Afghanistan, it's not worth it, arguing for a drawdown. What's your sense from the ground?
Well, Jeff, I don't think there is a black and white answer here. Quite clearly, where we are with the Marines, they are making progress. We were here 2 months ago. Areas that were then controlled by the Taliban are now under Marine control. In other parts of the country, for example, in Kandahar, where the army is operating, they're not having such success. But I think the bigger problem here is whatever the U.S. military can achieve here, they need to be able to hand it over to the Afghan security forces and to the Afghan government. And there, we're seeing much slower progress, and that calls into question the entire endeavor here, Jeff.
Terry McCarthy, embedded with U.S. troops in Helmand province. Terry, thank you. Tragedy in Germany today when at least 17 people were killed at a popular music festival called the Love Parade. A panicked crowd caused a stampede at that festival near Dusseldorf. Richard Roth has more.
Despite the tragedy, the music never stopped. In late afternoon, with a deadly crush in the crowd at the edge of the festival, authorities feared announcing an emergency might make it worse. The music fans were caught under a highway overpass in a bare concrete tunnel that was both entrance and exit when something set off a panic. One account said it was a loudspeaker warning there was no more space, telling people to turn around and leave. But they couldn't. They were trapped in what quickly became a fatal, suffocating jam. Some tried to climb their way out. It was a blockade, says this man, a frenzy. By luck, he says, we were pushed out, but many who fell were trampled, and help couldn't get to them until the crowd thinned. With emergency workers tending the injured, police simply said it had been chaotic. Called the Love Parade, the one-day festival of electronic music has been held in Germany for 2 decades. This was its first year at an old railroad yard in Duisburg, a city of barely 500,000 people, struggling to cope with a crowd 3 times its size. Richard Roth, CBS News, London.
Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, he is on death row. He's hoping to change that by getting on the internet. The governor of Oklahoma last week granted a second stay of execution for a convicted killer on death row. In what appears to be a first, that inmate appealed to the governor on the internet. Dean Reynolds has more.
Otis Earl Short was shot to death during a break-in at his home on a January night in rural Oklahoma 16 years ago. His wife Minnie was attacked but survived. 2 petty criminals were arrested.
You have been charged with murder in the first degree. Do you understand that?
And were eventually convicted. One, Tracy Dyer, admitted guilt and got life in prison. The other never confessed but was sentenced to die.
My name's Jeffrey David Matthews, and I'm set for execution.
And it is his case that is getting belated attention because of the questions about it and the means employed to raise them.
I did not kill my uncle, and I wasn't there.
In the 21st century, why write a letter when you can go up on YouTube and plead your case directly to the governor?
Please talk to Mike Mars.
Mike Mars is a former deputy sheriff who arrested Matthews. We spoke to him last week.
I know he did not receive a fair trial, and right now I know that he was innocent, that he's innocent of it.
Mars has complained about the case from the start, but only lately turned to YouTube as well to make his points to a wider audience.
But I firmly believe that they made Jeff Matthews fit the crime instead of the evidence convicting him.
Matthews' defenders note that no DNA evidence or fingerprints have ever been connected to him in the murder scene. He has 2 witnesses who provided an alibi, but who were somehow never called to testify.
This is the perfect cocktail for a wrongful execution.
Paul Ciolino is a CBS News consultant who says recently discovered fingerprints from the scene could well point away from Matthews and toward someone else.
All you have to do is say, time out, fellas, let's review this a little bit more carefully before we kill somebody who's maybe innocent.
Dyer, Matthews' co-defendant, originally accused him of pulling the trigger, but now says someone else, whom he will not name, was the shooter. And a juror from the second of Matthews' 2 trials says, if I had things to do over again, I would not have sentenced Mr. Matthews to death. And yet the prosecution is convinced of Matthews' guilt.
There was physical evidence collected at his house that connected him with the crime.
Clothing that Minnie Short said one of her attackers wore was found in Matthews' home, along with prescription medicine she said was also taken. Matthews admits talking with others about robbing his relatives, and one acquaintance testified he loaned him a .45 caliber pistol hours before the murder. Ballistic testing showed it to be the murder weapon.
If the state is going to execute a man or a woman, then in my own mind, there should be no doubt.
Matthews' execution date is set for August 17th. Governor Brad Henry pushed it to next month so authorities could continue to review evidence in his case. Dean Reynolds, CBS News, Chicago.
A terrifying crash at a weekend air show in Alberta, Canada. A Canadian Air Force Hornet fighter practicing for the show yesterday suddenly slammed nose first into the ground and exploded into a fireball. The pilot managed to eject. He was not seriously hurt. Just ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, matrimonial mystery, seeking the spot of Chelsea Clinton's wedding. It is the marital mystery of the summer. Where exactly will Chelsea Clinton get hitched next Saturday? For now, speculation is centering in a posh estate in the town of Rhinebeck, New York. Elaine Quijano is on the scene.
In the one-stoplight village of Rhinebeck, New York, nestled in the postcard-perfect Hudson Valley, all signs indicate that Chelsea Clinton will marry fiancé Mark Mizvinsky here next Saturday, and the rumors are swirling.
President Obama is coming up the Hudson in a private boat.
and, you know, the frogmen will escort him.
The Clintons have not confirmed Rhinebeck as the wedding location, but the mother of the bride told CBS News she's thrilled.
I'm very excited. I think she is a really responsible young woman. Her fiancé is a wonderful young man.
Mayor Jim Reardon believes the Rhinebeck rumor is true.
What do you think this place is going to look like come Saturday, July 31st?
I think it's going to look like a circus.
The trickle of details leaking out is now a torrent. The wedding will reportedly take place at the $12 million estate known as Astor Courts, 50 acres encompassing a 5-bedroom Beaux-Arts pavilion and owned by Clinton donors. Just 2 days ago, the local paper, the Hudson Valley News, spotted this newly erected tent on the grounds of the estate.
Yeah, no, go ahead. What's up?
Executive editor Jim Langan.
Our sources indicate that it's going to be constructed in such a way that it's going to be all glass on the riverside, so the guests will be in there, air-conditioned, but an unimpeded view of the Hudson.
Absent any official information, Langan has become the unofficial town crier.
And are you getting a lot of inquiries from everyone?
Questions. Wedding guests, including A-list celebrities, will reportedly stay at the historic Beekman Arms, where Langan says the owners have signed a confidentiality agreement. The rehearsal dinner is expected to take place in a stone barn at Grassmere, a 525-acre private estate nearby. Gift bags will reportedly come from this boutique and will include wine bearing the Clinton name from a local vineyard, no relation to the former First family. Wedding planners estimate the event could cost roughly $2 million. With 500 guests, that's $1,000 a head for catering alone. Langan says the wedding rules even dictate what electricians should wear.
They've been instructed by the wedding planner that they have to be attired in tuxedos, so they blend in. They don't want guys sitting around in the farmer jeans while they're passing the caviar.
Langan also drove CBS News to a purported top-secret location where the Clintons will be staying.
You know what? They did close this since I took the picture.
Glenburn, a posh estate owned by the daughter of billionaire Clinton supporter George Soros. The mystery of Rhinebeck's real connection to Chelsea Clinton's wedding will finally come to an end in 6 days. Still plenty of time for rumors in this small town to run rampant. Elaine Quijano, CBS News, Rhinebeck, New York.
Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, Life in a Day, the grassroots film with a cast from around the world. Two famous Hollywood directors are holding a casting call today, and their audition is open to anyone. They're asking people to videotape and post what they're doing on YouTube with the intention of creating a movie that sums up one day all over the world. That is tonight's Weekend Journal, Life in a Day. An unknown Italian ukulele player with a video camera, hoping to hit it big in a feature film, produced by Ridley Scott.
My name is Gladiator.
The man behind Gladiator and Thelma and Louise. And directed by Kevin MacDonald, who made The Last King of Scotland.
We've all seen films which are following one person through a day or through a week, but this is following everybody.
There's our heroic driver who's been taking us on this journey.
Thousands of submissions like these are expected from around the world. This was sunrise in Norway. The deadline to shoot, even the mundane, is midnight tonight, and to upload within a week. The best footage will be condensed into that single feature film.
A film which is a portrait of the globe, a portrait of the whole of humanity on a single day.
Instructions were intentionally vague. Show what you love or fear.
Get laid off.
I love my teddy bear.
What makes you laugh or what's in your pockets.
To smell the flowers.
Most of all, be yourself.
Because you can't be yourself to me without a single moment every once in a while of just serenity.
Newport, Rhode Island, July 20th, 1969.
This kind of celluloid time capsule has been tried before, right here at CBS News, 41 years ago, the day a man first walked on the moon. Today's Life in a Day is another grand sociological experiment.
People will, I think, recognize the unique quality of this film, that it is trying to be global, that it is trying to say something about mankind as a whole.
Life in a Day. The creators of the top 20 submissions that make the cut will be invited to the film's premiere next January in Utah. That is the CBS Evening News tonight. Later on CBS, 48 Hours Mystery. Russ Mitchell will be here tomorrow night. I'm Jeff Glor, CBS News in New York. Good night.